All right. Hello. This is the newest edition of the Movie Night Society. We're talking about John Carter, everyone's favorite movie. Uh, I know a lot of people out there are gonna be pretty, like they're probably hoping like, oh my God, I hope they don't shit on John Carter. It's like my favorite movie. But we probably will. Uh, I don't, okay, I picked this movie. I don't know what you guys were expecting going in. Um, but I don't know. I was expecting it to be pretty bland and forgettable, and it was, but I don't know. Man, I'm still like I watched this movie last night and like I'm still wrapping my head around the whole thing. Um, I guess I should say why I picked it first. Uh, I picked this movie because it's like the 10th anniversary of this movie uh this year, and it's considered to be like the biggest box office flop ever. Uh, and I definitely want to go into like some of the stuff that it affected with Disney. But I think like we usually go through like the plot first. But what did you guys like? What were you guys thinking going in? Like, did you like have what were your expectations for this movie?
I mean,
Well, like
nothing
what
special.
you've seen it once before, right, Dustin?
Yeah, I didn't remember much, but it was that thing where I watched it and then like certain like I come for example, one of the things I had zero memory of was the timeline he started in. I don't know what I was expecting there,
Yeah,
but I was just like, okay, I guess whatever. And
yeah.
then two, I forgot about the alien dudes. Like I thought it was all humans and I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot they exist." And then like weird ass ships. I forgot that existed. And then him jumping. So as I was watching it, my expectations went higher because I was starting to remember stuff. And I was like, I had to like this, right? Like there was at some point I had to have liked this. Needless to say, I was wrong.
Yeah, well, okay, well, what did you think going in? Like, what were your expectations? What did you think this movie was going to be like?
I thought from. Wait, did you
Well,
say Will or me?
I said Will.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, okay. I had never even heard of this movie, so I had no expectations. Julian told me it was a pretty big flop, so just expected to be like a generic action type movie from the stuff I saw about it, and that was kind of it. Those were only expectations I had because I don't think I think actually I've heard of the of this like it's a franchise, I guess, like right? It was
Well,
a book
it's a book
series.
series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I heard of that before, but just the name and nothing about it. I didn't know like anything about the book series or anything going into it.
Yeah, it's based on a book called A Princess of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs, who is most famous for creating Tarzan, but he also created the Barsoom series, which is A Princess of Mars and a bunch of other books featuring the character John Carter. And Barsoom is what Martians call Mars. Um, I knew this movie was going to take place on Mars, but I had no idea it was like going to start on Earth and that there was going to be this whole like thing where he's like trying to avoid the war, and there's like he has like a nephew who is Edgar Rice Burroughs. That was really like jarring to me when the movie started. I mean, like I guess we'll kind of get into it now unless we have any other like opening thoughts on the movie. But there's a lot of stuff about the production that I thought was really funny and interesting. But let's go through the movie first, and then like kind of uh yeah, we'll kind of like get into that. Um, I usually write down notes for this movie, but I this movie was honestly I don't know about you guys, but I found it really hard to follow what was going on at times. Like
I did in the
I thought,
beginning. It's like, what?
yeah,
There's just they throw a bunch of things at you and then they mix it all together, and it's like I have like, which side am I supposed to be rooting for in this war, and why should I care about this war?
yeah,
I think.
yeah. It was like really there was just like so much this movie throws at you. So I'm gonna just read the Wikipedia summary and assume it's like correct, and we'll just go through it like with that. So uh, yeah, so in 1881, Edgar Rice Burroughs attends the funeral of his uncle, John Carter, a former American Civil War Confederate Army captain who died suddenly. Per Carter's instructions, the body is put in a tomb that can be unlocked only from the inside. His attorney gives Carter's personal journal for Burroughs to read. And now this was like really jarring to me at the beginning because it was like, oh wait, Edgar Rice like that's the author of the book. Like I knew that going in, and it was like that's this is weird. Like this is like if like J.R.R. like Tolkien was in Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? And he was like being told like this story as like a realistic account of like what happened. Like that was weird. But apparently that's in the book. He like starts it off as like a like oh, this was like told to me by a family member of like what happened. I feel like as a book that would actually be really interesting because you're kind of reading it as like, oh, it's like a story that this like person told him, and it's like, oh, where's this going to go? And then it like suddenly shifts into like this weirdo like sci-fi thing. um but the movie like immediately, this isn't in the plot summary, but the movie like immediately starts with all this backstory on Barsoom, and it just throws like so many things at you, and it was really hard for me to follow what they were saying or like understand if I was supposed to care about certain things, like Will said. Um, so yeah, that the first part of this movie was just like, what? Um, so in a flashback to 1868 in the Arizona Territory, Union Colonel Powell, who was played by Bryan Cranston, who I didn't know was going to be in the movie,
I didn't either. That was also pretty funny to see.
and he wasn't in it for very long, but it was nice to see.
What's with all these movies killing Bryan Cranston's characters off so quickly?
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was like, I thought he was gonna come back later or something, but spoilers. I mean, like spoilers for this whole movie, but like he like the next time we see him after John Carter just gets like ejected to Earth, like to Mars, he's dead. He's just like a skeleton, which was really funny because it's like, wait, he didn't try to like crawl away or anything. He didn't like try to crawl to like the road to get help. Like that was weird, but I guess he was shot. But we'll get to that.
Right. He didn't get shot. He got transported to Malcolm in the Middle.
Or Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Bryan Cranston's character arrests John Carter with hopes that Carter will help in fighting local Apache. Carter escapes his holding cell, but fails to get far with U.S. cavalry soldiers in close pursuit. And I have to say, I thought this scene was kind of funny. Like the part where like they like kind of sit him down and they're like talk, like Bryan Cranston starts like talking to John Carter, and then like John Carter like just like immediately like tries to beat them up.
I
And
was
then like
about to comment on that too, especially how they use the music in those scenes. It was
yeah,
actually pretty clever. I laughed.
yeah, I I was gonna say this movie shines when it's actually trying to be funny. I thought, at least, like there are a lot of funny moments in this movie, which was kind of surprising to me. Uh, and I guess I should mention that this movie was directed by Andrew Stanton, who is of like Pixar fame. He co-directed A Bug's Life. He directed Finding Nemo and Wall-E. So some of the like editing in the like comedy scenes kind of reminded me of like an animated movie, with just like how quick it was. And then yeah, after like John Carter starts to like punch these guys, it like cuts to him just like in the chair, like after they kind of subdued him, and then like he starts like the conversation again, and then John Carter just jumps out the window to try to escape, which I thought was really funny. And then it cuts to him like they've caught him and they put him in a holding cell. Um, so that was I thought that was a pretty funny scene. Um, I was like a little hopeful then because it was like, oh hey, the movie it might actually be funny. It might actually be kind of fun. Um, but then we'll move on. Uh, so after a run-in with a band of Apaches, Carter and a wounded Powell are chased until they hide in a cave that turns out to be filled with gold. Yeah, John Carter has been like trying to find this like cave of gold or something. Uh, the plot summary just says a Thurn appears in the cave at that moment. Uh, the Thurns are like these kind of like omniscient, like kind of godlike beings that show up throughout the movie. And at the beginning of the movie, um they give that guy like some weird like I don't know, like veiny looking like power that has like really destructive power to it. Um so and that's one thing about this movie is like a lot of stuff felt like it was sequel like, you know, like kind of like building stuff for the sequels that were supposed to happen. It was supposed to be like a trilogy, and yeah, that didn't happen because this movie flopped so hard. Um, so yeah, uh, a Thurn appears in the cave, and at that moment, and surprised by the two men, attacks them with a knife. Carter kills him, but accidentally activates the Thurn's powerful medallion and is unwittingly transported to Mars, uh, or Barsoom, because the guy is like dying. The Thurn is dying, and he says like Barsoom. And while John Carter's like holding the medallion, he repeats Barsoom, and it like transports him to Barsoom. Um, and then Carter is basically like Superman. Like he goes because he's on a different planet and like the gravity is different. He is like basically able to like jump really high distances and is like super strong. Um, which I thought was kind of neat. Um,
Since
and
you're talking about that part really quick, I don't know
yeah,
if you're going to mention this part, but the scene where he first is on Mars and the gravity is different and he's kind of he can't really control how far he's jumping. I thought that was a pretty funny scene. I thought that was
yeah,
besides like the scene we talked about earlier where he keeps trying to get away. The scene where he's kind of discovering that his jumps take him farther than it did on Earth. I thought was funny. It got a laugh out of me.
yeah. Like I said, I thought the funny, like the comedy stuff in this movie was actually kind of like it kind of worked for me. Um, yeah. Chime in if you guys got any like comments about these scenes or anything I miss. Um, but yeah, I'll keep going. He's kind of like he's captured by a green Martian. Uh, the Green Martians are called Tharks, and they're Jedak. The plot summary just like throws these names in like we're supposed to know what they are. We've all watched the movie, and I'm like, how many of us like knew what a Jedak was?
I still don't
I
know what
don't
that is.
really
I don't
either.
remember that name at all.
Something important,
I
important
assume it just means
position,
their
but I don't
leader.
know. I guess.
So their Jedak, Tarkus, who is played by Willem Dafoe, um, which was a nice surprise. I didn't know he was in this movie, even though it's
Willem
only his
Dafoe is
voice.
actually he was the only one without makeup in this whole movie. That was how he really looks.
He's pretty good in this movie. I think like the script doesn't give him a ton to work with, and it sucks that he's not actually on screen. But he's got like once you hear his voice, it's like, oh yeah, Willem Dafoe's
Willem
in this.
Dafoe's good in just anything he's in. He usually
Yeah,
tends to make it work for the most part.
Yeah, this movie utilized Willem Dafoe better than the live action Death Note movie. So that's something, I
How sad
guess.
is that?
That's pretty sad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, John Carter is captured by the Tharks, and then elsewhere on Barsoom, the Red Martian cities of Helium and Zodanga, which I thought was really funny when they just kept saying Zodanga in the opening, have been at war for 1,000 years. Sab Thon, Jedek of Zodanga. I'm sorry. I His names are so funny to me. And it just like this plot summary isn't like explaining what any of this means.
Don't forget about their other leader, Big Dong.
Big Tong. So Sab Thon, Jedak of Zodanga, armed with a special weapon obtained by the Thurn leader, Matai Shang, proposes a ceasefire and an end to the war by marrying the Princess of Helium, Deja Thoris. The princess escapes and is rescued by Carter. Yeah, that's basically what there's like. This was like one of my problems with this movie is that it didn't let anything breathe. It didn't like let you soak in information. Like we just okay, so like it said that like she escapes from her city, right? Was that an actual scene in the movie?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It never happens in the movie. She just says it. And it just like goes by like so quick. Like she's like, "Yeah, I escaped." And it's like, "Wait, did we?" It's like, "Did I see that before? Like, what happened?" This movie doesn't like let things truly develop and yeah, like breathe. And it doesn't let you like soak in information properly. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to mention that because like I watched this with a couple people and like after the movie ended, we were like just talking about this movie for like an hour or so. And it was just like, yeah, what that didn't wait, did that happen? Did that like what this didn't make sense, this thing. So anyway, uh so the princess escapes. There's like a whole battle kind of between the the bad guy. I just read his name.
Big
Sab
Dong.
Than?
Oh,
Sab Than, Big Dong or whatever his name is. Uh Played by Dominic West, who I know was on like The Wire. But like man, in this he's like so forgettable. I don't know about you guys, but I just felt like this villain was like super bland and uninteresting. He was just like kind of there.
wait, is this the green guy?
No, this is the red dude who like gets that blue like veiny
Okay, yeah.
like
I was
thing.
gonna say the whole beginning part of the movie built this dude up as the main bad guy, and he kind of just fades into nothing, and he's
Right?
unimportant.
Yeah, because he just basically is following the orders of one of the
Yeah,
what
he's
are
a
they?
nobody.
Therns?
The
Thur-
Thurn.
Thurn. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he was just following orders.
Yeah, he was just a puppet. But the Thurn weren't that interesting either. They were like not developed in this movie, which I assume was going to be like a, oh hey, they're going to be developed in other movies,
Yeah, that's what it
but
seemed
that
like. 'Cause
never happened.
I didn't understand their motivation at all for why they're doing what they're doing.
It didn't seem like they had one. Like they they just kind of said,
We're immortal. We don't have a
yeah,
purpose.
We're really bored, so
yeah.
we just kind of do things.
Going back to Death Note, it's like Ryu. He's just like, I'm fucking bored, and whatever, man. We'll just pick this guy as the guy who's going to obtain this super weapon.
Except Ryuk's like at least likable. Like none
Yeah,
of these
Ryuk
guys
has a
were.
cool design. Ryuk has like an awesome voice. And like, okay, to be fair, the lead Thurn in this movie was played by Mark Strong, and I like Mark Strong. I think he's a good actor, but you know, he needs the right thing to like go off of, you know? He needs a good script. Like I liked him in Kick-Ass. He was the villain in Kick-Ass. I thought he was good in that movie. But in this it was just like he's like did nothing. So yeah, but let's man, I'm hoping this plot summary is enough because there's a lot of stuff in this movie. So John Carter, Deja, who's the Princess of Helium, and Tarkus's daughter Sola reach a spot in a sacred river. They basically like these three characters like escape from the Thark village or whatever. Um, and they reach a spot in a sacred river to find a way for Carter to get back to Earth. They discover that the medallions are powered by a, in quotes, ninth ray that is also the source of Sabthon's weapon. Sabthon being the main villain of the movie, Big Dong. They are then attacked by Tharks under the direction of Shang. What Mark Strong's character? It's like
I don't know who that was.
If I say Shang, like, are you guys gonna know what it means? So they are then attacked by the Tharks under the direction of Mark Strong's character. John Carter and the princess are taken back to Zodanga. A demoralized Deja, the princess, grudgingly agrees to marry Big Dong and gives Carter instructions on how to use the medallion to return to Earth. Carter decides to stay and is captured by Shang, Mark Strong, who explains to him the purpose of Tharns and how they manipulate the civilizations of different worlds to their doom, feeding off the planet's resources in the process. So that's what the Tharns are trying to do, but it was so like
But
quickly
why?
explained. Yeah, I guess.
Why did they do that?
Okay, here's the thing. I read a little bit of the summary of the book and the next book. So the Tharns in the book, I want to pull up the page so I make sure I get this right. But basically, in the book, in the second book called The Gods of Mars, this is where they discover the Tharns. This is like the first time they show up, apparently. So Carter and Tarkus discover the Tharns. This is from the book. A white-skinned race of self-proclaimed gods have for eons deceived the Barsoomians elsewhere with the lie that the pilgrimage to the Valley Door is a journey to paradise. Valley Door in the book series is basically like the afterlife. So most arrivals in the afterlife are killed by the beasts who dwell there, and the survivors enslaved or eaten by Tharns. So the Tharns like literally like eat people. So they like feed off of people. And that's the thing too. I've read that the books are much more adult than what we got in the movie. And I did think the movie was pretty violent for a PG-13 movie though. Like there was like if the blood wasn't blue, if it was red, I think this movie would have been rated R. Because there was a lot of violence in the movie, surprisingly. Like heads get decapitated, they get like stabbed like right, through. You see the weapons like go through their entire body. Yeah, and there was like a part toward the end where like this random Thark woman who's been like I guess harassing Tarkus and his daughter or something. She just like hates them for some reason. She like falls into like this pit. They're like in an arena and there's like these beasts. And one of the beasts like grabs her and like rips her in half. But it's in like silhouette and you don't see it. But it was still like the implication of it was like really violent. But anyway, so yeah, the Tharns, going back to the Tharns, they're these like they're basically like these omnipotent like vicious like malicious beings who just try to like feed off of like people's like doom, I guess. I don't know, it's not really well explained in this movie, even though it's like there's a whole scene dedicated to it, which is just sad.
Very.
So yeah, let's see what happens next. Carter. Okay, the plot summary just says Carter and Go back to the Tharks. They missed someone's name. I think it's Carter and Sola. Go back to the Sola is Willem Dafoe's daughter in this movie. So Carter and Go and Sola go back to the Tharks to request their help, but they discover that Tarkus has been overthrown by a ruthless brute, played by Tal Hajus, who's played by Thomas Hayden Church, who was Sandman in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, we got some Spider-Man villains in this movie. Woohoo!
Yeah, we got Sandman overthrowing Green Goblin in this movie, which I thought was funny. So yeah, this is where Carter and an injured Tarkus battle with two enormous, they call them white apes. And it was funny. I was watching this movie with some friends, and like they kept like mentioning the white apes, and like we are like, oh, what's that? What are they talking about? You know? And one of my friends was like, oh, I think they're just talking about like the humans.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's also what I thought too.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh wait, it was supposed to be they were building up these monsters, but it didn't come across that way.
Not at all.
Like in the slightest. And it's weird because they're like on a lot of the posters, these white apes. And I think like John Carter is like maybe writing one of them too. I can't remember. But it's like, I don't know. They build up these apes and they're like not really that interesting, like visually or anything. They're just like kind of nondescript, like big beasts. But yeah, so they like fight in this arena. John Carter, of course, like defeats them and kills the Thark who has like overthrown Willem Dafoe, and John Carter becomes the leader of the Tharks. And now the Thark army charges on Helium, led by Carter, and defeats the Zodanga army, while the main bad guy, Big Dong, is killed, and Mark Strong is forced to escape. So, yeah, this is like where the big battle comes in, and I don't know. What did you guys think of this big battle?
Well, I thought when they originally went to the wrong city, they like busted down the fucking door, and he's like, they're getting married in what was the city name again? Helium.
Helium. I think
they're like in Helium, and then the guy looks at him, just smacks him in the fucking head. I thought that was hilarious. Like
that was funny. Yeah,
that was really funny because it was also like that was a big fuck up. Like, and it just like slaps him in the head. I don't know. I thought it was just so funny. Like he looks so fucking annoyed. Like, like I thought he was about to start fighting, and like a whole nother plot point was gonna happen or something. It was funny.
Yeah, yeah, that was a thing. Like they accidentally they go to Zodanga thinking that everyone's gonna be there, but then there's like the princess is getting married to the main bad guy, unwillingly, like she doesn't want to, because she's a good guy. And yeah, so Carter has to go there. He goes there on his own first because the Tharks, this only really happens twice in the movie, and every time the Tharks are like, Tharks don't fly. And both times it happens, they just immediately fly anyway.
Yeah, I was about to say that. We don't fly, unless the plot demands it.
Unless I missed something earlier on, but it really didn't feel like it felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so strange. Like it was kind of funny, but it should have been built up more, you know?
Also, another funny scene that happened prior to that part was when that like alien dog was on the flying thing too, and the guy just like points at it, and they're about to shoot the thing. You know what I'm talking about? They're like in the flying thing, and then they see the dog, and he just like slowly lowers his rifle in disbelief, and they just watch it crash. And then yeah, I thought that was really funny too. Like That's the last thing they would have expected. They hate this little like mutt, and they just see him like flying on this thing.
The dog thing was pretty funny. I like the fact that it basically had super speed too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's something that the plot summary isn't telling us. Like they have this dog. It's a Thark dog, I think, and it like I guess it's there to kind of guard John Carter at first, but then it kind of becomes like John Carter's pet. And it has super speed. It can like just run crazy fast, like Sonic or something. And in the part that you just mentioned, Dustin, where like Sola, the daughter Thark, is like Tharks don't fly. I genuinely thought it was going to cut to her riding the dog.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't that have been funny?
Yeah, that would
Like
have
that would
been
have
even
given
funnier. Like super speed, she can't hold on, and like all this other stuff.
yeah, but it was just like, oh, it was she just flies anyway. Like it didn't feel like a joke. You know what I mean? It was really strange. Like I was like, oh, that such an obvious setup for like a joke there, and it didn't happen. That was so weird to me.
At least we got
But
a
yeah,
funny scene out of it. I mean, it could have been worse, as we've seen thus far.
yeah, it was funny how like the guys are like just like pointing their guns at it and then it just crashes. But yeah, it was like yeah, the dog was a fun kind of thing in the movie that isn't really like super plot important, but I thought it was like a cute thing. Um yeah, one scene that this plot summary didn't mention before, uh there's like a whole part where when the Tharks are like attacking John Carter and the princess and the daughter, Thark Sola, there's like a part where like they're all like attacking him and he's just like going nuts. He's going berserk on them and just murdering all of them. And it's like intercut to like him remembering his wife and kid uh having been like burned in their house, and he's like burying them. It's like intercut with like images of that. What did you guys think of John Carter's amazing backstory that he had a wife and kid who died?
I didn't give a shit at all because they never built it up to anything. I just saw some hot chick and then like some little girl. I was like, oh, I guess he had a family. I didn't even realize they were dead. And it's like it took so long to figure that out. It's like it doesn't matter. Like how far he's gotten in the movie. It's been like an hour and a half. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal. I still don't care. I'm glad they died. Fuck them.
Yeah, that could have been a really like emotionally invested scene if it was done a lot better. Like if it, I don't know, showed him interacting with his family more and made us actually care about them. But it
Yeah,
just kind of like that was only like the second time it showed them, I think, right? So it's like, what? He has a family. Okay, you think that would have been brought up earlier before?
yeah, and the whole reason like this is happening, that it's like intercutting those two scenes together, is that like John Carter, I'm assuming things because the movie doesn't really spell it out too well. It's like not entirely clear to me, but like I assume that the point was like John Carter is tired of war, and like his family probably died because of the war, through some circumstance, and like that's why they died. So this is kind of like him deciding like, no, we're still like worth fighting for if it's for a good cause or something. It was really like it was too vague. I felt it didn't feel like, like a movie, like a normal movie would have like a line, you know what I mean, like a really pointed line that gets everything across really well, you know what I mean, uh or just like some scene where he's like talking with the princess about his wife and kid or something. We really don't get anything like that. It was so, it just kind of like assume too much like that you're gonna just get it or like feel the emotional connection, and I really didn't. Like Will said, I think this scene could have been really good. I think this whole movie could have been really good, but the script just like and the directing, like the pacing of the movie doesn't like really give you any time to like care about anything.
The poor man's
Um
Dune, man. That's what it turned into.
I this reminded me a lot of Dune. Uh and I can't remember when Dune was written, but this book was written in like 1912. So
Damn.
I don't know, but it doesn't feel like an outdated thing. It just, I don't know. It just felt like the script didn't adapt it well. You know what I mean? Um,
They cut out
but
too
yeah,
much from the book, which I think is rare.
well,
Usually it's like they cut out some main shit in movies like this. And it's like, all right, like it sucks, but you can see it. Here it's just like without even reading the book, you can tell they just skipped over a bunch of shit that probably shouldn't have been skipped over because we would have had some backstory and cared a lot more, but whatever.
yeah, and I haven't read the book. I only read the Wikipedia like plot summary for the book. Uh, and it was interesting that there are certain things that are omitted, but then the whole fact, okay, in this movie, there's the Tharks, there's the city of Helium, and then there's like uh Zodanga, right? Uh
Something like
and
that.
Helium and Zodanga are like at war with each other, and the Tharks are like just kind of there. Uh I think in the book, from what I remember reading the plot summary, I think like the Tharks and uh Helium are like at war with each other. Um that's like one thing I kind of was reading about the book is that it kind of feels more like a travel log. It kind of feels like John Carter going on like just like traveling through Mars and meeting different people and sort of like incidentally getting wrapped up in like the political like war aspect of like what's going on Mars.
Just
So
like
it,
Anakin Skywalker in episode 1.
I guess. I
Getting
mean,
pulled into
it is.
politics, man. It's not his
I
fault.
mean, it is kind of like Star Wars, right? Like Luke kind of just kind of inadvertently gets involved with the rebels versus the empire, but in this movie in particular it just felt like there was like a completely unneeded faction going on. Like
True.
you really could have truncated this to just the helium, like just the red Martians and the green Martians, and that's it. That's all that's in like the book apparently. I think like later books have like more like creatures and races and stuff, but for like the first book, it really is like just a simple. There's green Martians, there's red Martians, and like that's it. Um, but yeah, like we're basically like at the end of the movie here. So they they defeat Big Dong, the main bad guy, and Carter becomes Prince of Helium by marrying the princess. So he's like not only like the Prince of Helium, but he's like also like the leader of the Tharks now. He's like kind of like, you know, become a big guy on Mars now. And on their first night, Carter decides to stay forever on Mars and throws away his medallion. And then, right as that happens, Mark Strong comes back and uh like sends Carter back to Earth. And this was really funny to me. But when Carter comes back to Earth, uh he like looks up at Mars and he's like, there's like 15 like million miles between us and no way to reach them. And he's like, I shouldn't have thrown away that medallion.
Yeah,
And
like
I was like, really?
yeah, no
Like you're
shit.
gonna it's like, okay, even if like I get the whole message was supposed to be he wants to stay on Mars and shit, but like you could have still kept the medallion. You could have still like kept it as a strategic, like maybe I gotta escape Mars sometime and go back to Earth. And okay, so that's actually what happens at the end of the book apparently, is like they build this flower, this like plant, this like atmosphere plant, and it basically allows like people on Mars to breathe. And then at the end of the book, John Carter, like, I think goes to Earth to like get an engineer to like help them, and like brings him to Mars, or something like that. And I was kind of like, yeah, why would you throw away the fucking medallion? Like, it's like such a powerful item.
Most
For a
people
guy
would just
who
like
likes-
put it in a drawer. Like,
Yeah.
I'll put it here if I need it.
If some like random dude got a hold of it, he could just like go to Earth, or Jarsum as they call it, like, and just conquer it or do something like really bad. And then it's like, oh, how would you get back to Earth to stop this person? It just made no sense. And the fact that the movie acknowledged that it was a stupid thing 2 seconds after it happened was hilarious to me. Like, I fucking cracked up. And then not only that, but he's like, and this is like what I was talking about with the movie not giving any time for things to breathe. Like, this is a big moment, right? John Carter gets sent back to Earth. Is like right after everything is like perfect for him. You know, he gets sent back to Earth by the bad guy, and he's like, he like looks up at Mars and is like, there's no way I can get back. You know, like, there's so much distance between us. I can see it right there, but I can't get there. And then immediately he's just like, but wait a minute, Tharns are on Earth, so I can just get a medallion from them at some point. And it's like, it just happens like a switch. And it's so quick. This movie gives you, you know, like, it should have had a moment where he just like is defeated, you know, is like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't, what do I do? I can't get back. And then maybe something reminds him that Tharns are on Earth or something, or he like kind of musters up some like, you know, I gotta do this. I gotta like find a way to get back to Earth, to Mars. Nothing like that. He just immediately is like, oh wait, I know what to do. Oh my God. So
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
that was really like, oh my God, that was Jesus. So Carter embarks on a long quest to find one of the Tharns medallions on Earth. After several years, he appears to die suddenly and asks for unusual funeral arrangements consistent with his having found a medallion, since his return to Mars would leave his Earth body in a coma-like state. So that's one thing that they do mention that I thought was interesting, is that like, even when he's on Mars, he has like an Earth body. The medallion like kind of made a clone of him on Mars. I thought that was neat. I thought that was like kind of a neat sci-fi twist to the whole thing. So yeah,
Like
basically,
Bleach.
is it like Bleach? I don't know.
It is. His soul
Yeah.
comes out.
Yeah,
And he's just his
kind
soul
of.
with his body laying there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's similar enough.
Well, yeah. So he basically like pretends to die on Earth, and he basically like he's like, Edgar Rice Burroughs, his nephew, is like reading the journal, and is like, oh my God, like, he's still alive in there or something, where like he has the medallion. And like he goes to the tomb that Carter's body is supposedly in, and like finds a way to open it from the outside. And right as that happens, like a Thurn shows up behind him to like basically kill Edgar Rice Burroughs and then kill John Carter as soon as the tomb opens. But the tomb opens, John Carter's not there, and John Carter like shoots this Thurn in the back and kills it, and is like I've been waiting for this moment for like 10 years or something, and like basically makes Edgar Rice Burroughs like his protector of his secrets, which yeah, I don't know if that happens in the book or anything, but it was really just so weird that this movie just ended with like, hey, like John Carter gets sent back to Earth. Oh my God, how is he going to get back? And then he just immediately finds a way to get back. Like
It was instant for no
yeah,
reason.
it was like in like a few minutes. It was so quick. And I really was like watching it and I was like, okay, if sequels of this got made, that would have been a great thing to put at the beginning of the next movie. You know what I mean? Like end the movie on like, oh my God, John Carter's back on Earth. He has no way to get back to Mars. And but you know, he like kind of like is determined and like is like, I'll have to find a Thurn or something like that. And then like it ends and the theater's like, oh my God, like how is he gonna get back to Mars? And then the next movie starts with him, you know, figuring out how to get back to Mars. But no, it just happens at the end of this movie in 5 minutes. And it's like, are you kidding? Like, how did.
I feel like they did that for like a safety. Like
I,
they didn't know the movie was gonna flop yet, but in case it did, they didn't want to leave it on a cliffhanger. So they just threw it
yeah.
in there for like casual viewing as
It
to not
still
disappoint.
it still does get left on a cliffhanger though. So
I mean, yeah, but like if you did like I didn't know there was other books and I it's fine for me. Like, oh, he went back. Yeah, it was shitty, but it was an ending. Now that I know there's other books, it's like, oh yeah, but like most
mhm.
people they just saw some sci-fi shit. I think that's why
Yeah,
they added that there.
it's like, yeah, it did still leave on a cliffhanger, but it just felt like it just felt so strange. Like I think the only reason it was there to like was to have the Edgar Rice Burroughs thing come back.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I really don't know. Um but yeah, that's the movie, that's the plot. That's like everything that happened. Uh what did you guys like think of the movie like overall? I mean, just because I basically kind of said what I thought overall, but
I thought it had some good ideas. Like it was funnier than I thought it would be, and some of the characters were pretty likable, but a lot of them were also really forgettable, like their names and just I don't remember like anything this character said. The romance between John Carter and the princess also felt really rushed and forced to me. I'm the only
yeah.
one. It just like it only felt like they had one or two scenes and then they're just like in love.
Yeah, it was
Like
like
I
really
don't buy
quick.
it.
You know,
I should have spent more time on it.
I thought that the actress for the princess did a pretty good job with what she was given, but I really didn't think Taylor Kitsch like had the chops to be the lead here. I like I'm sure it's the script too, but like this kind of thing, I feel like you need a really charismatic guy. And I just didn't think he worked very well. And you know what? This movie reminded me a lot of Army of Darkness, the third Evil Dead movie, because like in that movie, Ash like has to get back to his own time. He doesn't really care about like this whole thing, this like war that's going on, but like eventually kind of comes to and like helps them. There's a lot of similarities, like just kind of like on the surface, but like that movie has a extremely charismatic actor as the lead, and it's really like buoyed by him and like Sam Raimi's creativity as well. But like, you know, you need that really good lead in the role. And I don't know. Taylor Kitsch just like didn't do it for me in this movie. I thought he was like okay. I don't know. What did you guys feel?
I thought it was fine, like serviceable. But they could have gotten someone. I think he could have been a little bit more charismatic, and like what Julian said. But I thought he served the role fine. I didn't have like too much of an issue with him.
I didn't have any
Yeah,
issues. I thought he was all right. It's
yeah,
just not something that came to mind. But now that I think about it, I mean, like, I guess I could think of some better people, but it just didn't come to mind while watching it for
Yeah,
me.
there's definitely I think some better choices. I think that's kind of like what Julian's trying to say. Um,
yeah,
but I didn't hate him in the role or anything. I thought it's like he served it fine, did what he needed to do, and it was like okay overall. I didn't hate him in the role or anything, but
yeah. I think I like I knew the budget of this movie going in, and I want to get into that now. Um, but I guess like just for the budget of this movie and like how much money they put in, you'd think they like really get a better lead, you know? Like, yeah, I didn't really have issue with him. He just like for this kind of movie, it is like you really need someone who is not just serviceable, but like really elevates it, you know? So the budget for this movie, I don't know if you guys looked up anything about the making of this movie or anything. Did you?
Nope.
I
Okay.
looked at the Wikipedia page a little bit earlier, but I don't remember what the budget was.
Okay, so the net budget, which I guess is like kind of like what you get back after taxes. There's like a gross budget net and a net budget. The gross budget is like $306.6 million,
Oof.
and the net budget is 263.7 million. And I looked this up. It is, and it says on the Wikipedia page, but it is like it's one of the biggest box office bombs. It's probably the biggest. The only one that is probably close is another Disney movie, The Lone Ranger, which was I've seen that one too, and it was really bad.
Never even heard of it.
Oh yeah,
Really? You've
it's
never even heard of the Lone Ranger?
No,
It's like a
you've
classic
heard of
TV
the
series.
yeah, you've heard of the show, right?
maybe. I mean, it
Okay,
sounds
like
familiar.
Tonto and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and what was Silver something? What the fuck was it? The horse. What the fuck is the horse's name? It's like Silver or
I don't
something.
know. My
Anyway,
dad
we're
likes
not
the
talking.
TV show though.
Yeah, it was a really popular show. And then they made a movie like a year after John Carter, and it did really
With Johnny
poorly as
Depp.
well. Yeah, as Tonto,
Yeah,
which
who played the Lone Ranger? Do you know off the top of your head, Julian?
Army Hammer.
Oh, okay.
So less said about him, the better. But with John Carter, it is not only one of the biggest box office bombs, it's one of the most expensive movies ever made. Unadjusted for inflation, this movie is the ninth most expensive movie ever made. And at the time, there were only two movies that were more expensive than it, and that was Pirates of the Caribbean 3 and 4. And so this at the time was the third most expensive movie ever made, which is insane. Okay, I have to ask, did you guys feel the money on the screen? You know, like I feel like with Avatar, I and like Titanic, like I could feel the money on the screen. You know, like it has like really lavish like production value. With like Avatar, you can really tell that like they put a lot of time into like the motion capture and stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as good as Avatar's in this movie.
Yeah, that
Dude, there were straight up like, tell me I'm not the only one, dude. There were straight up fucking scenes where you could tell there was a green screen behind them. Like you could
yeah,
see it.
definitely.
It did
Yeah.
not blend in at all. I was like, dude, like I knew it was expensive. I was like, dude, I could see their blurry ass outline. Like it didn't work. Like who the fuck had to get fired? Like who looked at that and who QC'd that scene? It was like, yeah, that third most expensive, looks great. And then just shipped it off. It happened like 4 times where I was just like, there's no shot, dude. Like there's no shot it looks that fucking bad. And it did. But other than that, I mean, like, I think in general, like single characters that were on screen, like they look good. I saw the budget in that at least. And they look pretty cool. Because I've seen worse CGI now than 10 years ago. Like if that came out today, like some of the, except with the exception of like that shit I just said, a lot of those scenes could have been like, oh yeah, I mean, it was pretty good. Sometimes.
Yeah, even in like one of the first scenes, the scene where like the main bad guy gets that super weapon, like you could tell they're on a green screen.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't look like terrible to me, but like for one of the most expensive movies ever, it should have looked better.
Yeah.
Like think about this, like the Avengers came out the same year as this movie. Like, and that has a lower budget. Like, isn't that weird?
That's insane.
And that
Yeah.
whole New York scene looked way better. I never watched Avengers, and I've never watched Avengers and been like, yeah, it doesn't look very good. Like never. Like
Yeah,
it
and that
always looks
movie
okay.
has big name actors in it. You know, like, yeah, sure, this movie has like Willem Dafoe, but like he's like a voice in this movie. And I did read a funny thing on the Wikipedia like trivia where he said like it said like Willem Dafoe said something like Willem Dafoe accepted the role of Tarkus because he thought it was interesting for him to act while wearing pajamas and walking on stilts. I thought that was funny.
My God.
So
No wonder this movie did shit. Look at the motivations.
I assume he was like referring to like the motion capture technology, but it's really funny the way he phrased it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this like I would not have guessed that this is one of the most expensive movies ever made just from looking at it.
No, not at
It
all.
really it didn't wow me. I I knew going in it was one of the most expensive movies. I knew like a little bit about this movie going in and like because I wanted some sort of expectation and I was like really shocked how like unimpressive it was, you know? Like how unwowed I was by the special effects. Uh so yeah, it was the third most expensive movie ever made at the time, and that's just crazy to me. Um but yeah, so yeah, I wanted to like talk about the production of just a John Carter movie in general because the development of a John Carter movie like excuse me goes back to like the 1930s. Uh apparently Looney Tunes director Bob Clampett. I'm kind of reading this off the Wikipedia page, so I'm assuming that it's all correct, but you know, it could be wrong. Who knows? But I assume it all sounds legit. But so in the 1930s, in 1931, Looney Tunes director Bob Clampett approached Edgar Rice Burroughs with the idea of adapting A Princess of Mars into a feature-length animated film. And think about that for a second. The first feature-length animated film was Snow White in 37. So Edgar Rice Burroughs actually agreed and said that it was a good idea because he thought that animation would like uh, you know animation faces like less limitations than live action. So he like told Clampett like go ahead like make some do some test footage and stuff, and you can actually find this test footage and it's kind of cool. Um, uh, it's like all rotoscoped. I think he got like some athlete to like do the poses and stuff. And they show like John Carter riding this like eight-legged like animal and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Um, but this yeah, they showed the test footage in 1936 and it received negative reactions from people from like film exhibitors across the US. Uh, and many of them said that the concept of an Earthman on Mars was just too outlandish an idea for Midwestern American audiences to accept, which is really strange. Like,
I mean, it makes sense
because
for back in the day. I could see that being a thing.
I guess so. Like, I could see like some people thinking it's outlandish, but at the same time, it mentions here Clampett recognized the irony in MGM's decision, as the Flash Gordon movie serial, released in the same year by Universal Studios, was highly successful. And he speculated that MGM believed that serials were played only to children during Saturday matinees, whereas the John Carter tales were intended to be seen by adults during the evening. Uh, so, yeah, like think about this. This could have been the first feature length animated film ever made if it actually went through. That would be crazy. That would change the whole trajectory of like making a John Carter movie in like today's age. Uh
Dude,
and
in
then
some alternate universe where that happened, The Rock played John Carter.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like John Carter or like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like
Yeah.
I think of Conan the Barbarian,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know?
Crom
That would have
lasted
been
your 4 wins.
I don't think I could believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a Confederate soldier, but like I think as like this strong man, it would totally work. But yeah, so then Disney acquired the rights to produce a film for it, and stop motion animation effects director Ray Harryhausen, who is a big stop motion effects pioneer. He did like Mighty Joe Young, like Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts. Very famous stop motion animator. Was he expressed interest in making the movie, and they bought the rights to let's see, someone bought the rights for Walt Disney Studios with a view to creating a competitor to Star Wars and Conan the Barbarian. Uh, and then John McTiernan, who is the director of Predator and Die Hard, was attached to direct, and Tom Cruise was approached to star in it. That would be really different if Tom Cruise did it, but I feel like Tom Cruise maybe would have been he probably would have been a pretty good choice in like the 80s, I feel. Um, and then basically it says the project collapsed because McTiernan realized that the visual effects like weren't advanced enough to like recreate Barsoom and the vision of the books. Um, and the rights eventually went back to the Burroughs estate, and then Paramount picked it up. Um, and let's see, Robert Rodriguez signed on in 2004 to direct a John Carter movie. And he was basically going to use the same techniques that he did on the Sin City movie, where it was just like all green screen, like sets. Uh, I think that would have been kind of cool if it was like stylized. Um, so then I guess that fell through because uh, with Sin City, uh, Robert Rodriguez like shared a directing credit with Frank Miller, the creator of Sin City, and I guess like the Directors Guild of America like it like stirred up some controversy because uh I don't know, I think because like Frank Miller wasn't like a union director, so Robert Rodriguez resigned from the Directors Guild of America, and then it's like these studios don't want to like employ like a non-union director, so that project fell through. And then let's see,
Dude, this
John
thing was doomed to
Favreau.
fail from the start. Holy shit.
I know, right? Think about like 100 years since this movie or since the book came out, like a movie finally got made of it. That's like crazy. uh and it's not just like 100, it was like 100 years like to the mark. It was like the centennial anniversary of John Carter as a character. um so yeah, then John Favreau got interested in making a adaptation of it.
Didn't he?
And
He voiced a character in this too, right?
that's right, yeah, I noticed that in the credits he voiced one of the Tharks. um that was probably because he like wanted to direct the movie. um but yeah, John Favreau's approach would have been more practical effects driven, and he cited Planet of the Apes as an inspiration for that, which I kind of reminded me of Planet of the Apes. This movie, someone like being stuck on a you know on a foreign planet and like is captured by like savages or whatever. Um, so yeah, I think that actually could have worked if like the Tharks were practical effects, and it probably would have been a lot less expensive too. Um, but then Paramount decided not to renew the film rights, preferring instead to focus on the Star Trek franchise. And then, like a few years later, we got the reboot of Star Trek. So maybe that was the right move. And then Favreau, of course, went on to do Iron Man. And then, yeah, it returned back to Disney because Andrew Stanton, the director of John Carter, he was the one who really lobbied for Walt Disney to pick up the rights again because he had read the books as a kid and really wanted to adapt these books. And he pitched it as Indiana Jones on Mars, which I think is not accurate at all. Indiana Jones is like an archaeologist who's like trying to find artifacts and shit. John Carter is basically Conan. Like he's a strongman action dude,
He even looks like him.
you know? Yeah, really. Like the illustrations and stuff for like the original novels are pretty, yeah, they feel like Conan. Um, so yeah, the studio was skeptical because Stanton had never directed a feature film, a live action feature film, I mean. And Stanton wanted to make the film without any major stars whose names would guarantee an audience, which I find insane because this movie cost like $300 million.
Yeah, I would
Like,
say that was I like the idea of that, but because this movie was so expensive to make, that's a huge gamble that you're making.
yeah. So one thing I want you guys to think about by the end of this, my whole spiel here, is do you think that this movie's failure at the box office is Andrew Stanton's fault or Disney's or a combination of it? Because I can't decide. So yeah, Andrew Stanton was the one who said like no major stars that would guarantee an audience. Disney said that the screenplay was seen as confusing and difficult to follow, but because Stanton had overcome similar pre-production doubts to make WALL-E and Finding Nemo into hits, the studio approved him as the director. And then Stanton noted that he was effectively being loaned to Walt Disney Pictures because Pixar is an all ages brand, and John Carter, in his words, was not going to be an all ages film. So yeah, there was like all that shit, and I need to keep going here. Okay, we're gonna get into. Sorry, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. Okay, so Stanton denied assertions that he had gone over budget and stated that he had been allowed a longer reshoot because he had stayed on budget and on time. So they did reshoots for this movie, and it was like a month-long reshoot, which is pretty long for reshoots. And let's see. However, he did admit to reshooting much of the movie twice, far more than is usually common in live action filmmaking. He attributed that to his animation background. He said, "The thing I had to explain to Disney was, you're asking a guy who's only known how to do it this way to suddenly do it with one reshoot." I said, I'm not going to get it right the first time. I'll tell you that right now. Stan often sought advice from people he had worked with at Pixar on animated films, instead of those with live action experience working with him. Stanton was also quoted as saying, "I said to my producers, is it me? Is it just me, or do we actually know how to do this better than live action crews do?" Which is really funny after watching the movie. And then Rich Ross was Disney's chairman at the time. He had actually originally approved the film for production. He was pretty new to Disney at the time. I think he was like involved with the Disney Channel. He was like a Disney Channel executive. And he, I think, became chairman of Walt Disney Studios in 2009. And then we'll get to how long he lasted at the company as chairman. But yeah, he had no experience with feature films. And he was the guy who approved the project. And the studios, it seemed like a lot of like new hands were coming into the studio at this time, because it also says that the studio's new top marketing and production executives had little more experience on feature films. And then this is where we get into the marketing, and this is like where certain things like really like frustrated me. Like I was getting like kind of some of the stuff about the marketing is really strange to me, especially again considering that this movie is like the third most expensive movie at the time. So the head of Walt Disney Studios marketing during the production was M.T. Carney, an industry outsider who previously ran a marketing boutique in New York. But Andrew Stanton, the director of the film, often rejected marketing ideas from the studio, according to those who worked on the film. Stanton's ideas were used instead, and he ignored criticism that using Led Zeppelin's 1975 song Kashmir in the trailer would make it seem less current to the contemporary younger audiences the film sought. He also chose billboard imagery that failed to resonate with prospective audiences, and put together a preview reel that did not get a strong reception from a convention audience. Stanton said, "My joy when I saw the first trailer for Star Wars is I saw a little bit of almost everything in the movie and I had no idea how it connected, and I had to go see the movie. So the last thing I'm going to do is ruin that little kid's experience." Although being based on the first book in the series, the film was originally titled John Carter of Mars, but Stanton removed "of Mars" to make it more appealing to a broader audience, stating that the film is an origin story. It's about a guy becoming John Carter of Mars. Stanton planned to keep Mars in the title for future films in the series, which were never produced. And then Taylor Kitsch, the guy who plays John Carter in the movie, said that the title was changed to reflect the character's journey, as John Carter would become of Mars only in the last few minutes of the picture. Former Disney marketing president Carney has also taken blame for suggesting the title, and this is really strange. Another reported explanation for the name change was that Disney had suffered a significant loss in March 2011 with Mars Needs Moms. The studio reportedly conducted a study which noted that recent movies with the word Mars in the title had not been commercially successful. And I looked up, Mars Needs Moms is another one of the biggest box office flops ever made. Its production budget was 150 million and it only made 39 million. So this was like just flop after flop, like year after year for like a good 3 years for Disney here. Mars Needs Moms, John Carter, The Lone Ranger. And then basically I'm trying to look at here, but let's see. So the film's failure led to the resignation of Rich Ross, who was the head of Walt Disney Studios, even though Ross had arrived there from his earlier success at the Disney Channel. Ross theoretically could have stopped production on John Carter as he did with a planned remake of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or minimize the budget as he did to The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp. So he was also involved with The Lone Ranger, and like I think he like got into the company like maybe as it was getting made. But instead, Stanton was given the production budget requested for John Carter, backed with an estimated $100 million marketing campaign that is typical for a tentpole movie, but without significant merchandising or other ancillary tie-ins. And it was reported that Ross later sought to blame Pixar for John Carter, which prompted key Pixar executives to turn against Ross, who already had alienated many within the studio. There's a 2013 book called John Carter and the Gods of Hollywood that cites many factors in the film's commercial failure. But the author of that book insists that the film tested very well with audiences and failed more because of marketing problems, which included not mentioning Mars, Barsoom, or Edgar Rice Burroughs on promotional posters, which meant that many fans of the Burroughs books were completely unaware of the film and its subject matter until after it bombed. And then later, this is the last thing. in September of 2014, studio president Alan Bergman was asked at a conference if Disney had been able to partially recoup its losses on The Lone Ranger and John Carter through subsequent release windows or other monetization methods, like home video. And he responded, I'm going to answer that question honestly and tell you no. It didn't get that much better. We did lose that much money on those movies.
God damn.
So this is like insane. And the part that I like really think I think the title of this movie really fucked this movie. I kind of agree. This movie, like, okay, try to imagine you haven't seen this movie. What does the name John Carter evoke in your mind? What
A
kind of
lawyer.
movie are you? A lawyer, right? A lawyer or a guy with a gun. Like I thought of like Jack Reacher or Jack Ryan or
Yep.
Jason Bourne or like any like 80s action like movie character like John Matrix from Commando or John Rambo or John Connor from The Terminator or John McClane from Die Hard. And I swear to God, I was talking with my parents after I watched the movie, and I was like, "Oh, I just watched John Carter," and my mom said, "Is that the thing with John Krasinski in it?" And I'm like, "No, mom, that's Jack Reacher." And it just like confirmed my suspicion that that's what killed the movie. And then just to fuck with me, I feel like this was done just to fuck with me. At the end of the movie, it says John Carter of Mars, and I couldn't take it. That was, oh my God,
Dude,
man.
this movie was fucking terrible because the most interesting shit about it was behind the scenes and not on screen.
Yeah, I would see a movie of the making of this movie
Yes.
before like this
Dude,
actual movie.
It would make a great mini like docuseries about
It
like
would,
that
right?
would be way I bet it would have made more money too.
Yeah, or like an Ed Wood like style movie, or like My Name is Dolomite or something. Like that would be, I would see that. That would be fucking great. I don't know, Will, you've been quiet a lot of this time. Would you have any thoughts on this movie?
Well, I was just listening to your story the whole time, so that's why I'm quiet.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I went on for too long. Like, I think the video is just going to be me for like a lot of
Yeah.
this video, but
Uh,
I couldn't like
yeah.
believe the story behind
I
this movie.
the story behind the movie is a lot more interesting than the actual movie, but I really didn't
Yeah.
think it was a terrible movie or anything.
No, I thought it was bad, but I didn't think it was like the worst thing I'd ever seen or anything.
It
Like, it really wasn't that bad. I think for me, there was a point near the end where I would like toward the third like act where I was kind of like, I can't believe this is still going. Like it felt too long,
Yeah, it
you
definitely should
know?
have been like
Yo,
half an hour shorter.
I I was texting Julian right after I finished it, and because I watched it right before this, and it was a 2 hour movie. I had a memory of it being like 3 or 3.5 for some reason. When I saw it in theaters, I
It
just
kind of
thought
felt
that
like
was it.
that.
And Julian just immediately, what the fuck? You were like, well, it
Oh,
certainly
I said,
fucking felt like it.
yeah, I said it
Yeah,
felt like 3
it
hours.
takes a long time to set things up because it has to
Uh,
introduce so much.
Yeah.
oh my god,
I really
it
thought
was
that it
boring.
was,
It was
yeah,
fucking boring. Like so
I
much
really
shit
thought
was
that
going on, and I didn't care.
Yeah, there
yeah,
definitely
I
were
thought that
a lot of parts. There was enough to keep me engaged. Like especially at the beginning, there were like some funny scenes, and it kind of goes back to what Julian says. Like, oh, maybe there's hope for this movie after all, because I'm actually chuckling in some of these scenes. And like when he first arrives on Mars, it's kind of interesting. Like the more you go into like the war between these two civilizations, it's like I really don't care about this. Like I don't care about their war. I don't care about pretty much all the characters that are fighting. I don't care about the villain. Like John Carter interacting with the what were the green aliens called?
Tharks.
Tharks. That was like
Fucking
probably,
boogers, dude.
but that was probably the most like interesting part of the film to me. What about you guys?
Like the most
Yeah,
interesting part.
I guess
I liked. I
the
mean,
part that I was least bored at.
I say I liked the Tharks, but I think I liked them in theory. A
Hmm.
lot of this movie, I felt like I liked in theory or like
Yeah,
conceptually.
there were like we
You
said
know?
earlier, there were like a lot of good ideas, but just nothing really sticks. It's
Yeah,
very
and it's like,
ambitious, and it
and
just didn't pan out.
it's a pretty simple story.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of like Dune or Star Wars or whatever. It's like really simple idea, but
yeah,
it managed to feel so like complicated.
yeah.
You
I think
know?
it really would have benefited from being shorter and just introducing a lot of the stuff at a much better pace. Because it's like we said, like the first like 10 minutes just throws so much stuff at you and expects you to care. It's like slow it down a little bit, cut some stuff out that's not really needed. Because I thought the last, like, I was fairly engaged until like the last half hour, where I was just, okay, this just should be done. Like, I
Yeah,
just want it to be done. I'm over it. I don't care. They still have like the big battle left between them. Like, oh, this will decide which one wins, which side wins, and I don't care. That's like one of the least interesting parts about the movie. So you're just ready to be for it to be done.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
not
I
So
totally
at
agree.
that point, I
good.
was just like, okay, I was kind of like enjoying it for the most part. I was like, I wasn't looking at my phone or anything the first like hour and a half. I was like engaged enough. But yeah, then the first half an hour, I was kind of starting to go on my phone, and I was like skipping a little bit of the stuff just to get to the end faster.
Yeah. One of the people I was watching the movie with was honestly like looking at their phone, just like following the plot summary on Wikipedia and was still like confused.
Mm.
And like, and then they just were like looking at production stuff on the movie as the movie was happening. So like I had a whole discussion with them after the movie of like, did things make sense? You know, and there are still lots of things where we were just like, oh, what I that didn't what happened there again? You know, like it
Mhm.
was for a movie with this much money behind it, it really should not have felt like that. And I'm surprised that this like I after seeing the movie, I was like looking at the plot summary of the book, and I was like really surprised that this movie wasn't like amalgamation of like multiple books in the series, because there's like 11 books in the series, but they wanted to do a trilogy, so I kind of figured like, oh, they're gonna truncate a lot of stuff and like jam stuff into like one movie, but this is like apparently just basically the first book. So it's I don't know.
Fucking sucked. Jesus Christ. There's nothing else to say. Dude, I have less to say about this than I did with Land, and it's just watching fucking grass grow. Like I
Yeah, this
literally it's true. Like I can't there's nothing to discuss. It was just like some average fucking Disney sci-fi movie that no one fucking remembers. Like
Yeah.
there's not it's like there's nothing. Like I said, this whole fucking thing has been about like anything interesting, anything fun other than the little comedy bits is from behind the scenes. Like listening to
yeah,
it fail is more entertaining than trying to watch it succeed when it was out at the time. Like it doesn't make like that's it. I can't even those funny scenes I mentioned was it. I didn't give a fuck about anything else. Like I it was and again, and I kind of agree with you guys here. It's not like I was sitting there thinking it was absolute fucking trash. It was just an average ass random sci-fi film, and it's
yeah,
like whatever.
Yeah,
Like it
that's how
wasn't
I felt
memorable.
after it.
Yeah, it's
I
like
think
ugh.
Dustin's got
I'm
the.
never gonna watch that again. By the way, there's no shot.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to ever watch this again or recommend it to anybody.
yeah. No way. I would
Uh-uh.
recommend this to anyone unless they're like
Would you guys
super
watch sequels
interested.
though if they were
Yes,
made?
only
I
because
probably
this was
would.
so
I probably
historically
would
fucking bad.
too.
I would just to see if well, actually, no matter what, even if I thought it was going to be better or knew it was going to be worse, I would watch it for either of those reasons, just out of curiosity.
Uh,
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I would probably see a sequel.
Yeah.
But I really wouldn't have watched this movie if it wasn't such a huge bomb, which is kind of ironic, but like I
True.
it was the only thing that really made me interested in seeing it because I remember seeing trailers for it and thinking, "Oh, it looks like a generic sci-fi movie." And yeah, I don't remember any posters or trailers saying like from the mind of Edgar Rice Burroughs, classic author, you know what I mean? Like it just was like, "Oh, this looks like." And this was like a few years after Avatar came out. And it really felt like they were trying to make like Avatar. Don't you think?
Yeah, with all the
Like I got that
CGI and
feeling.
shit.
Yeah. I think the movie was actually like I think it started filming, let me see. Filming began in November 2009, and I think Avatar came out in like December 2009. So it wasn't like the highest grossing movie of all time yet, but I don't know. It just seems a bit too coincidental. You know what I mean? Like maybe in like the editing or something, they like change things to make it feel more like Avatar or design wise or something. It just felt like the timing just feels too like that can't be. I don't know. It just seems too coincidental to me.
True.
Um, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say. Did you like the score? I noticed it was Michael Giacchino, I think, the composer for Up and lots of other Pixar movies. I think he's done lots of Wes Anderson movies,
I
but
didn't.
I didn't really notice the score that much. I don't know about
That's what I
you.
was about to say. I guess it's a good thing I didn't think it was bad, but I just didn't notice it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love Up. I love the score for Up, and I this ain't no Up. I don't know. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if I have anything else to say about the movie. I didn't even write down notes. I like just looked at Wikipedia, but that was like enough.
Yeah, I think I've said pretty much all my thoughts on the movie. There isn't a whole lot more to go over.
Same.
Yeah, it's funny because like Land, like it was. I think we went on about Land for like about an hour, um, but like I don't think we talked about the actual like John Carter the movie
No,
as much here.
not at all.
I mostly just talked about the story behind it and like the making of it.
Yeah, because that's more interesting.
Yeah, dude, that was
Yeah,
the fun
it
part.
was. Yeah, I man,
Are,
after the
are we
movie
ready to
ended, I
rate
was
then?
like, yeah, I just want to say after the movie ended, I was like, oh my God, like this episode is gonna have to be, this is like gonna be buoyed by just the stuff around the movie, you know? It was really, yeah, I guess I'll rate it first. I, because I picked it, I found it pretty boring most of the time. Lots of really sloppy characterization and like just throwing way too much at you with no room to breathe. I didn't think it was a terrible movie, but it was bad. Um, the few things I liked were like, yeah, the comedy stuff and some of the sci-fi aspects. Like conceptually, this movie could have worked, but it was not very well directed and edited. So I'm giving it a 1.5. I think that's fair. Uh, and I don't know. I think like the only enjoyment I could get out of the movie, like even when I watched it the first time, was just thinking of like how insane it is that this is one of the most expensive movies ever and how much it flopped. That was interesting. So that did keep me engaged. But that I'm not sure that's not really the movie's doing. But yeah, hey, I don't know. It wasn't the worst experience. So 1.5 stars.
Sounds good. You want to
What about
go
you?
next, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2 for
A
similar
two.
reasons.
Okay.
I didn't just think those few scenes were funny. I thought they were fucking hilarious. For some reason, it just hit my humor spot,
Yeah.
and that's the only reason it's getting a 2 and not a 1.5. So, I mean, I've said everything I needed to say about it. So yeah, I'm giving it a 2.
All right, I guess my rating then.
Yeah.
I'm also giving it a 2. Because
Okay.
you know it kept me at least engaged enough. It got me to laugh a couple times, but it just kind of goes back to what Julian said. Pretty poor characterization, throws way too much at you, too much to remember, especially like with all the names and everything, and you just really don't care about the main conflict.
Oh wait,
But
I forgot to say this. Now, Will, that you said that, I don't think I said it during this. I don't know any of the characters' fucking names except for John Carter. I don't know any.
yeah, that and
Yeah.
Tarkus, which I will probably forget in a day or two.
Dude, that sounds like the
That's-
fucking.
I know
fucking
it's kind
Jawa
of a
out Star
fun
Wars.
name though, Tarkus. It kind of fun to say.
It sounds like
Yeah.
Harkonnen, bro. It's
That's the
literally
only one I
Dune.
remember. Like I don't remember the princess's name. I don't remember the villain's
Yeah.
name.
Not
Deja or something.
Yeah, but
Deja
I
Vu.
think.
I'll forget yes by tomorrow. But Tarkus, I can maybe remember that for a couple days.
Yeah,
So-
while watching the movie, I was like, I don't know her fucking name. Like there's so many scenes with this character, and I don't know her name.
In my head, she was hot lady.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, you
She's
know what
pretty
was
good
funny?
looking. So you know.
Yeah, she and Taylor Kitsch, because this is in like the IMDb trivia. They were both in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Taylor Kitsch was Gambit, and she I'm trying to remember the actress's
Well, this
name.
just explains everything then.
I'm trying to find what her Lynn Collins is her name. She played Kayla Silverfox in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I don't even know who the fuck
Gosh,
that is.
I remember when Gambit was a thing. Gambit was supposed to
Yeah.
get his own movie too.
Yeah, we should do X-Men Origins Wolverine at some
Oh
point.
gosh.
I actually, hey, fun fact, I actually love that movie. I think it's dope.
Okay, I love it, but like in a schlock way. That movie, it was like ridiculous. It was
I have a friend named Aaron. Julie knows him.
Yes.
And in high school, when this came out, Aaron just about loves anything superhero related except Dark Phoenix, which I found funny. I haven't seen it, but that was like the one X-Men movie he didn't like. But he loved X-Men Origins Wolverine in high school. And he kept telling me like, Will, you gotta watch X-Men Origins Wolverine. You gotta watch the movie. It's so good. And I watched it, and I thought that was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Why do people? I'm gonna say this conversation.
It would make an interesting discussion then.
I was gonna say,
But-
dude, this is the best discussion we've had about John Carter, and it's about a different fucking movie.
I know.
Yo, hey, real quick though, so we don't go far into this though, because I don't know this.
Okay.
I know everybody hates that movie, but because I like it so much, I am not kidding. I don't know why people give me like a very fast, quick explanation. Like, why do people hate this movie? Because I actually don't know.
Okay.
Deadpool. They ruined Deadpool, right?
Other than that, that was bad. Other than that,
I haven't seen it in so long. I remember just everything feeling really rushed in it, and just, like nothing memorable about it. But I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe I might, probably not, change my mind about that because I haven't seen it since high school. Because I never want to see this awful piece of trash ever again.
Okay, but before we move on, would you rather watch X-Men Origins Wolverine or John Carter again?
X-Men. For me,
X-Men would probably be more entertaining for the way Julian described it. I would have a different mindset going in. So probably X-Men, just because of that.
All right, well, next pick for next week, X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Gosh,
no, I'm kidding.
Oh, is that my pick now? Like,
No.
your pick
Yeah,
is
yes,
X-Men, Will.
yeah, we're picking for Will.
Yay! I love that movie.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about John Carter. I think we're done on John
we're
Carter,
done.
right?
We're done.
Yeah.
Let's just
Will,
talk.
what's your
my
next
movie?
pick?
Okay,
Yeah.
I had my movie planned and I had to change it today. Should I tell you what my original pick was?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, my original pick was the original Karate Kid because I've never seen it, but it's not on Netflix.
Oh.
I thought it was on Netflix. They have Cobra Kai.
Yeah, that's weird. I always think that's weird when like they have
Yeah.
like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie came out
I just
on
saw that.
Netflix. Yeah, and they don't have the original, and it's
Yeah,
like why
I assumed
where
Netflix had it. So when I looked today, I was like, there's the new one. I don't want to see that one. I want to see the original. They didn't have it, and I couldn't find it on any other streaming site. So I had to change it last second. But I did pick a movie that I've been wanting to watch pretty bad. So my
okay.
pick for this week, and Julian will not see it as a surprise because I've been talking about wanting to see this movie for a while, and that's The Suicide Squad.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
all right.
That sounds
Have
good.
you seen it,
Yeah.
Dustin?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I saw it in theaters, but I saw it right when it came
Oh, you saw it
out.
in theaters. Okay.
So watching it
too.
again, I'm kind of
Oh, okay.
down.
All right.
'Cause-
Yeah, I've been
yeah.
wanting to see it because I was a little hesitant. The trailer didn't wow me or anything, but it was James Gunn, so I was like, I'll probably see it at some point. And then Julian and one other friend I have said it was really good. I was like, okay, I got to watch it at some point. But then it went off of HBO Max, and then it came back on. So now that it's on, it's like, okay, you know what? That's there. I've been wanting to watch that. So The Suicide Squad, not 2016 Suicide Squad, but
Not
The
the
Suicide
original.
Squad is my pick for this week because Netflix did not have Karate Kid.
Nice.
All right, that sounds good. Now, okay. Should I watch the Peacemaker show
Yes.
now? Like, should I watch it before we
No.
do the episode?
No.
No?
Watch
I've heard
it
good things
after.
about it.
No,
I've seen the movie
I'm watching
already.
it. I'm watching it right now. You got to watch it after. 100%.
Okay.
Not just
All
for
right.
enjoyment's sake, but for the fact that they build off of some shit.
Well, I meant for the sake of like, should I talk about it on the next episode or not? You think?
Actually, in that case, maybe, but that's gonna ruin your personal enjoyment of it a little bit, I think. Also,
You
you're
think?
gonna get some stuff spoiled for you. Oh wait, you've already seen it.
Yeah, I'm the only one
Yeah,
that
I've
looks
already
like it
seen the
hasn't
movie,
seen the
yeah.
movie.
Oh, then yeah, I'd say fuck it, watch it.
Okay. Yeah, I might do that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been hearing good things about it, and like I like James Gunn, so but yeah, you don't have to watch it for the next episode, but I might. So yeah, the Suicide Squad. That sounds
Looks like
fun.
I'm making up for your week, Julian.
Yeah, I felt like bad picking John Carter. I knew it was like I don't know. I mean, like I thought it was maybe gonna be just like 2.5 down the middle. You know what I mean? But it really, yeah, it sucked. I think yeah, it's our lowest rated movie so far with an average of 1.8 out of 5
God damn.
collectively from all of us.
Jesus.
And so yeah. All right, well yeah, next week is the Suicide Squad, and we'll see you then. Bye.
Peace.
See you.
Peace. Peace.
You gotta like